Hello! It's a new year, a new video, new nails, new voice. I've decided to celebrate 2020 by allowing germs to find refuge in my immune system. Regardless, I really want to draw some more animals. In my last animal drawing video, I didn't do any like giraffes and lions, which I've been craving, so not eat them, but draw them. And also last time, I don't think I colored any of the drawings, so I have some of those golden acrylics from the last Palette Packs box. I was really impressed with how these dried and like how shiny and glossy they were, so I thought it'd be fun to like maybe paint some of the lions or giraffes or whatever we end up getting to. I was going to originally use markers, but we're running low on our square inches of real estate here in the sketchbook, and I want to make the most of it, so I need to use smart supplies that don't bleed through the page. All right, let's finally start drawing here. I'm really interested in drawing like the manes, the mane of the line. A line only has one, but manes in general. So the way I draw something that I don't draw very often, and things that I do draw pretty often, is I try to break it down into less complicated shapes. So if you find yourself a nice reference of a lion, you'll see that the mane kind of takes up a certain amount of area, lion's head. And then there's sort of like shapes that you can kind of find in there that make up the face. So I'm just gonna kind of sketch them out. See what I see. Block out shapes before you start adding too much detail. Because once you add detail, erasing is a lot more problematic. Not only is it more difficult to erase, but it's also gonna hit you emotionally, okay? We're artists, okay? A lot of us are emotional. And then from there you can slowly knock out more details and turn those basic shapes into something a little bit more relative to the actual drawing you're trying to make. And try and use tone to also block out your shapes. Now the mane is where it's getting a little complicated for me, because I find it hard to break it down after this. Like, okay, I see this shape, but then when I look at the mane, it's like so complicated and there's so many hairs, you know, going which, what, way, where, and wherever, but that I find it pretty difficult to like find a nice next stage. So I'm gonna just try and like break it down. I don't really know what I'm doing. We're experimenting here. I've got a couple references up, which are definitely going to be your best friend. Just Google lions. And I'll probably share a link to a Pinterest page of a couple of the references that I'm using. And again, we can use tone here to kind of push back sections and create depth. Don't want to go too crazy on that yet. We're still finding our legs. Where are their ears? It looks like their ears kind of come out here-ish. And they're kind of soft looking. So I'm going to make them a little rounded. Just keep working my way around the mane. I'm not drawing any one specific reference. I kind of just like look through them depending on what part of the lion I'm drawing and find a picture that has that more clear. It's a little bit more difficult than copying one exact reference, so don't feel the need that you need to do that, but it's kind of just how I like to play around with it. And then I can also try and exaggerate some of the shapes. It's easier to do that when you're not using a specific reference. But if this is the first time you're ever drawing a lion, just try and draw the reference. Try and learn exactly what it looks like before you try and play around with it too much, or you might feel a little in over your head. And some lions have like a darker mane underneath that looks really freaking cool. Oh my god. Oh, it's actually kind of darker on the sides too. And then from there, their body is actually behind here, so then their legs kind of come out. And they have very soft little squishy feet. At least they look squishy. I've never touched one. I just poke a butt out this way so it doesn't look too flat. And why not a tail? Why not? Why not? I'm not sure if it looks like a lion's foot, but I think it looks kind of cool. I just like the weird abstract shape of it, so I'm leaving it. And I've got lots of extra space here to practice better, I guess. Throw another leg in back here. Kind of just an abstract shape. This is where a little bit of experience is helpful, because you can kind of just give the illusion of something based on like your knowledge of just shapes, I guess. Kind of want to color this one. We could just color the mane. Let's throw on some colors here. These are the only shiny paints I have. If I want to add more colors, I'm going to have to grab some of my matte ones. But we'll see if I can get away. So what we need is like a tan reddish color, so I'll probably use most of this. Add some red and then some yellow. Okay, it's a little too pink. Let me grab some more yellow. And these are acrylic paints. I don't know if I mentioned it, but there you go. Not quite the color, but we could go with a bit more of a saturated approach. In that case, we would be able to get away with this color. Ooh, that's like chocolate. That looks delicious. Okay, let's start there, and then we'll see how the colors look on the lion. You can kind of see how it's still not very detailed. It's still very shapeful, I guess would be the word. Stylized and such. But that helps me like figure out the shapes a lot easier and experiment and see what works. And I think it's just much more fun. Okay, and then from there, we'll clean the brush. Switch to our lighter color. Color in the top of the mane. I don't know, that might still be a little too pink. I'm gonna mix these colors a little bit more for up here on the top of the head. Let's see, for the face, I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah, I definitely want this lighter. I can tell now that I'm putting on the face, that's just too dark. Mix it with some more white. I haven't cleaned the brush, so there's still brown on there, but I think this is more the direction I want to go. I love painting in my sketchbook because it feels so much more free. Like I can abandon it at any time and not have to worry about finishing it, which I think in turn makes you spend more time on it. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it kind of feels. I'm just gonna use this color and fill in the whole lion. That base coat. Kind of block out some of the shading too. Let me try just flat, tight, and buff on top while it's still wet. Mix it into what's on my paintbrush. So this should make it a little less pink, hopefully. This is why when I did my lion sculpture, I used crazy, like, mythological colors. Because it's so much easier for someone to kind of accept it. Because they're like, oh, you were being artistic. Whereas if you can't get the color right, people are like, the color looks a little off. Even if you're closer to reality than my sculpture was, you know? Alright, so now I'm definitely losing a lot of contrast. So we're going to have to go in with some darker colors and start, like, shading around the face. To kind of bring that out from the mane. I've been really enjoying painting lately just because of how messy it is, and like it's harder to get like exact details, which I think frees you up and allows for a little bit more creativity and fun. And I'm still using a pretty wide flat brush to avoid going into too much detail too, because I want to focus on contrast here, which I'm currently failing. Start adding in a little bit of our darkest brown color. This should be darker than the graphite and less reflective. You can also use this for a little bit more depth here and there. Contrast is definitely one of my big faults of art, so I want to really work on that. And that doesn't necessarily mean like a lot of shading, but it means like trying to find colors that work well and separate from each other without looking bad next to each other. And I don't know, there's like a lot that goes into it, I guess. And I am not an expert, so still working on it. It's a little bit lighter under their eyes, it looks like. Let's add a little bit more something around the face. Not bad for the first lion I've ever painted. I wonder if using like a little bit of blue for shading would be cool, or would it mess everything up? I think I'm going a little too crazy on the details. I'm gonna switch back to the wider brush. Let's focus on that contrast though, shall we? Also looks like they have a little bit of lighter fur on the inside of their legs. Blend it out with that one. I think I'm gonna let that dry and draw another lion while we're waiting. Right now it's a little wet, so it's hard to kind of play with. I'm gonna draw a little small one over here. I'll figure out what I've learned from there, if anything. Looks like a little chow chow. This looks a little gorilla-like right now, I'm not gonna lie. Let me work on it. I think I just made the body too foreshortened. Might be the problem. This lion's ears are pushed backwards a little bit more. Whoop. Which kind of allows you not to see any of the inside. This is also a problem. See, if that's the plane, those feet are in the very wrong spot. Like this, maybe? Oh yeah, that looks way better already. Still have a little bit of like a gorilla. I don't know. It looks a little almost human-like. Front legs. But I used like a reference for this one, so I'm a little confused. I kind of like this one's face. It's kind of cute and stylized. It doesn't really look anything like this one. Try and draw it from maybe a different angle. Get a better grasp of like what the profile of a lion's face looks like. Maybe the eyeball and your nose here-ish. And we can take some of the knowledge we got from drawing it straight on to know kind of what shapes everything should look like too. I kind of wish I had drawn more cats in my lifetime. I think that would help here. And the ears here-ish. And then the mane actually comes up a lot, like this. Oh, that looks funny. And it's blowing in the wind in this reference. Ooh, this is actually really helpful in seeing how the mane is like attached to the body. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe he's born with it. This looks like there's a line from the eye to the nose. And I kind of saw that in the front reference too. Of just like skin in face indentation. So maybe when we stylize it more, if I want to stylize it a little more, I'd take a lot of advantage over that line. Ooh, I think this one's my favorite sketch. Another thing about contrast is trying to make sure that no similar tones are too close to each other. Which is another fault I have. So wow, it's almost like everything has to do with contrast. I kind of suck it. That's why I'm working on it. I just give the illusion that there's a body attached to it. Not really any space to work that out. Well, maybe we can jump back on this little painted lion. See if I can touch it up a little bit. Probably by adding a lot more lighter tones. I don't know, straight white though is just too much because lines aren't really that color. Although maybe if it's layered on top, if it's transparent enough, that other color will kind of shine through. So by mixing it with a little bit of water, see if when that dries, how that looks. It's still just not quite the right color. And it's probably because I'm using magenta instead of red. Let's try adding a little bit of this orange. See what I think about this. Ooh, oh my gosh, that is like so much closer to what I'm looking for. Let it mix with the white that I've already put down. So the color I was missing was yellow. Okay. Well, and actually magenta too at the same time. Go down the legs too. Too saturated. Need to tone it down. Tone it down. It's all experimentation. Alright, how's it looking now? But again, hard to say. Did we gain any contrast though? That's a different question. I feel like it did. I got a lot of contrast in hue here because this is more orange and this still seems less saturated. So that was a little victory. All right, we'll leave that alone a little bit. I'm kind of tempted to paint both of these, but let's try a couple different things maybe. I haven't drawn anything sitting yet. Yeah, I bet one would fit right here pretty good. So head. Since we tried to fit a pose here, let me make sure I block out that entire pose before we start adding in too many details. Oh yeah, see, look, this isn't gonna fit. Uh-oh. Try and find some of the tones in here. Push back some of these elements that are in the background. Gotta find the shape in there. Sometimes you end up with so many scribbles, you gotta go a little excavating. Gonna move the head over a little. Kind of doesn't make sense to me anymore. So I'm just gonna use my gut instincts. Kind of figure it out myself. So got that first layer of mane and the second layer. The eyes are getting a little too humanized for me. Creepy. There we go. I'm finding the face in there somewhere. Being so heavy-handed. What's going on here? Separate those two layers of the mane. Something feels strange about like the height. I don't know if maybe if I widen the body a little, it'll go more into proportion. You gotta add in a fun little tail too, you know. Back to this lion. Like now the colors feel too saturated. I don't know if I can like some from here. Maybe a little bit of water. It's crazy how something can feel so right in the moment and then when you take a second look at it, feel differently. So I kind of mixed it with water to make it a little bit more transparent. Oh, I forgot these are gonna dry glossy. Oh, I love that. A little bit of pink shading. I just want to see what it looks like. Fun as an experimentation. I don't know if I would go with that if I was trying to draw something for somebody, but there you go. I'm going to add another layer of mane, which might busy it up a little. And add a little depth between those layers. There we go. I want to kind of try to do a little bit of like a savanna background behind this lion. Since I have some of these colors that I feel like would work. Slightly more orangey. Kind of a dusty red color, maybe? I don't know how you describe it. But like there's got some of that like savanna grass. And then like a pastel blue. I'm going to mix that same kind of color with a little bit of blue for the sky. But that's too dark. Oops. I have to lighten that guy up. I like the tone of it though. It's almost like a greenish blue. It's lighter, but I think it needs to be even lighter than that. This is why I go through so much white paint. I'm always looking for that pastel color. Ooh, okay, we're getting somewhere. Look at that baby blue. Right, and then go back to that grass color. We gotta add one of those classic trees. I should know what they're called. They're in Planet Zoo. But the ones with that very unique shape, very flat top. Those are really cool, like branches that kind of come up like this. Here's my little background. It's surprisingly fun to do. I like how like subtle and abstract it is. I'm gonna grab this pink and just put it underneath the lion. Just so it's not so strange and out there, but it's a little bit more incorporated as a shading color. I don't like it. Plan B. Let's add a little bit of... Actually, over here I can bring that sky a little closer to this lion, which will make him pop a little bit more. Kind of try and blend that out into nothing instead of having a harsh edge. Alright, we got a little bit of space left, not much, for this last lion. Kind of giving up on this one. What would be nice, I could try to draw a lion in like grayscale or something. So let's just go ahead and draw a lion though first. I guess that's the first step. Deciding how to color it is not the first step. Let's see how well I can do one of these. One more time. Let's see if I'm improving at all. I drew the face without a mane. Now I need a mane. Draw some legs down here. Leg down back here. Another leg over there. Oh shoot. This needs to be moved over a little. Or this head needs to be moved over here. See what I said about not putting detail in the sketches? What are you doing? Oh, it's me. Grr! I just need to move everything over. The problem is it's really interfering with this sketch. And then there ends up being a bunch of white space over here. That's what happens when you make mistakes. Gotta work from behind. Yeah, I think I'm working too far from behind on this one, so I think we'll just... I really like the way the face looked, and I don't really want to erase it, so I think we'll just leave that unfinished, because it is a sketchbook, and I'm a pretty big advocate for, like, leaving in some mistakes. I'm going to take this white paint pen and kind of outline it, though, just so it kind of stands out from that background that I drew before I drew it, which is now interfering. I would just use paint, but I kind of want to just keep it simple. And I'm not looking for like perfection here. You know what I do want to do is bring the background around that line though. Oh shoot, did this dry already? Do I have any left? I had to add a lot of water. We'll see if that dries opaque enough. There we go. A little bit messier, but kind of moves the idea across. Here's our page of lions. I want to draw one more. Gosh darn it. I like the spread as like a art piece in itself. I kind of like the way it looks. The pink's a little crazy and random. But other than that, I really like it. Well, I didn't get around to drawing any giraffes. I did draw a couple lions. And I think this is honestly my favorite right here. I love the way the face turned out. And I like the way like the sketches kind of pop from this really simple background that I kind of threw in there instead of just a flat color like I did right there. I think this looks way cooler. Even if it's simple, it makes just that, just a smidgen improvement, you know? And I had a lot of fun like painting these other ones too, so I don't know where this came from, but it's dry. I don't know why I'm just making these random little changes. I don't think there's any reason you'd ever see this many male lions in this close of proximity, except for in a sketchbook. Definitely learned a lot, and there's plenty of more improvement to go. And I had fun. Let me know what you drew if you drew along, and I will have links to some of the references I used today in the description. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you guys all next week, and I hope you have a delicious evening full of waffles. Bye!